Who's the leader of the pack? Bringing legacy to you. Legacy, it's true. Stand up, gear up, join the fight. We're as fierce as we can be. With grit and might, we claim the night. We're the Legacy. Legacy Club. Legacy Club. Strong and unbreakable. Warriors with fire inside. In our hearts, we're invincible. Legacy Club.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. Yes. Welcome back. Hello, and welcome back, folks, to another episode of the Legacy Club podcast. My name is Justin, a.k.a. the Portuguese Problem, a.k.a. That's all I got, really. Boy, oh boy. Is it ever an eventful time? Not really. I made a snap decision to record tonight. I need to record. I need to record some commentaries, if I'm going to be perfectly frank. But, and this is going to place this episode in time. I like to keep time kind of ambiguous episode to episode, so you can listen to this like way later down the line possibly and it still feel fresh, like maybe. But then again, I talked about our latest Disney trip. Our latest Disney trip on the last episode. So that's not real evergreen, is it? Okay. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I decided to record a podcast tonight instead of commentaries because tomorrow night is UFC. What number is it? 306, maybe? It's UFC Noche, to be precise. It is 306. Look at me, keeping it up. Keeping up with the keeping ups. Yeah, it is Noche. UFC Noche at the Sphere. At the Sphere, Holmes. I want to watch it. I watch UFC most Saturdays that they have fights. You know, that doesn't matter, pay-per-view, fight night, whatever. So it's not something out of the ordinary, but sometimes if it was a fight night, I could maybe, those tend to end earlier, so I would be able to maybe record a podcast after the fact and do my commentaries tonight. But since it's a pay-per-view, it's probably going to run late into the wee hours of the morning. The fight's in Las Vegas at the Sphere. So with the time change, I guess we're like really only an hour apart. But if that goes to midnight, it's going to be 1 a.m. here. So it tends to happen, and that's okay. But I'm not going to want to do this while I'm trying to watch the fights and keep up with the fights and really take in this whole Sphere thing. It's per Dana White, his analysis here, not analysis, but what he's saying. What he's saying is that it's going to be not just a UFC like none other, but an event like none other. So, and I believe him. There's like some talk of the imagery like going through the history of Mexico into the future. So that sounds like it's going to be cool. This episode is going to come out after the fact, so I don't think I would really, talking about the fights wouldn't really like predictions and stuff, because what good would predictions do on Monday? Although, if you do want to see my predictions, follow across any and all of your favorite social media platforms, because I do post my picks every pay-per-view, for sure. Sometimes a fight night, but every pay-per-view I'll post my picks. And not to toot my own horn, but I probably have like a 70% rate of being correct. I don't know. Does that sound good? It's fighting. Fighting is so just unpredictable at times. It can be predictable if you know a fighter's style, if you know both fighter styles, and you like look at their win records, and just if you have a familiarity of the game, you can like somewhat predict how some things may go. But then magic happens. Lightning in a bottle happens. And, Leon Edwards head kicks Kamaru Usman in the last round after being somewhat dominated the entire fight. And it's just so, it's so, there can be just very groundbreaking, unpredictable moments. So you never know. You never really know. But I do pretty good. I usually just post my picks to win. I don't get super in depth on like what round and how, but when I bet, I do bet. I am a degenerate gambler. Not really. I use DraftKings and I'll bet like 25 cents at a time. I'm a high roller. But in my mind, I like to pretend it's $25. But it's 25 cents. I didn't do smashingly well last pay-per-view, 305. That was when I believe that was the Izzy and Duplessis fight. I think that was it, and I had a lot of faith in Izzy. Israel Adesanya. And it just didn't go the way I don't think anybody really thought. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. It was a rough one for me. But I'm confident this weekend. Who's fighting? Sugar Sean O'Malley, not to be confused with Sugar Sean Allen, my coach, my jiu-jitsu coach, and just kind of like anything coach. Because if I wanted to do some boxing, I'd probably trick him into a private training and just go over some striking stuff we have in the past. But anyhow, Sugar and Sean that's a good flow of a name. Sugar Sean, right? Like, this is the first time I'm kind of really putting together, like, dang, man, if your, like, fighter name, like, tag was also used by a rock star of a professional, do you go like, man, who had it first, though? I think Sugar Sean Allen, I think, is older, and I know he's older than Sugar Sean O'Malley. So I'm gonna say Coach. I'm gonna say Coach Sean had the Sugar title first. But then you got like Iron Mike is a real popular one. Like you got Iron Mike Chandler, and we have a coach at Nashville MMA who's Iron Mike. He is very hot and cold with me. Sometimes I think he's able to tolerate me. Other times I think he looks down upon me. But that's okay. It's fair. I think he was a Marine or something, some sort of military. I never was. I have the physique of like a flyweight or a featherweight. Yeah, I have like the stature of a featherweight. But if I were to fight, I think I'd fight at featherweight. That's 145. I could cut to 145. I walk around like 160, 60s, like low 160s. So a healthy cut would be down to 155 lightweight, but I'm not a tall dude. And like the way people cut sometimes in the UFC specifically, let's just talk about that. The way people cut weight is they'll go from like 180, 190, maybe 200 pounds, and they'll drop down to like 155, and it's just bonkers. And then before the fight, they'll shoot their weight back up to like, if they're fighting at 155, they might shoot their weight back up to like 170 and go into the fight technically weighing as like a welterweight. So I don't know. That wouldn't be for me. I think grappling, depending on who it is, whenever I go to class, isn't that pathetic? Whenever I do make it to class, which, look, I'm coming off some injuries, okay? And I'm a dad of like 17, and it's just, it's a challenge to find the available time to make it to class. And people can say that's a lack of dedication or I'm making excuses. And you know what? Maybe I am making excuses, but they're valid excuses. Like, I don't know. I think parents may understand. Maybe. Or I tell myself that to make myself feel better. But anyhow, in class, I roll with guys usually bigger than me. Every now and then there will be someone my size in class, and like that's just a godsend, honestly. My injuries stemmed from dudes bigger than me. My thumb is still kind of like, I still got a weird little bump right there. You see that? You see that extra knuckle I have right here? That's not how it's supposed to be. That's definitely, there's definitely something up. But I'm fine. Like, I'm okay. That's gonna be the thumbnail. Pop, pop. I'm okay. I've thrown punches. I've hit the bags. Like, I'm okay. I can grip, like, fairly well. Oh, my ring's off. It's in my pocket somewhere, I think. I hope. Where is it? Hold on. Oh, there it is. Found it. Anyhow, married man. Look at that. Anyhow, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I can grip. I can punch. So it's not like hindering me a whole lot. I still feel like it's not as strong as my other hand, but it is my non-dominant hand, so it's already not as strong. I don't know. But anyhow, that happened when I was trying to pass this gorilla's guard. And I call him a gorilla because the dude has to be like 220 or something like that. The first time I rolled with him, it was his first day in class, and I showed up. Like, I I put up a fight to the point where like some of my teammates were like, "Wow, dude, that was way to go." But then the last time I encountered him, I was trying to pass his guard, and I don't know, man, his tree trunk of legs like knocked me off balance, and then I fell, and that's when that happened. And then I broke my toe with another white belt who forgot that we were just practicing, and just he like, man, when he shot to take me down, he like charged, like leaped at me almost, and that twisted my toe into a cracked, uncomfortable position. Now the toenail's like purplish. Anyhow, don't worry about it. And then my knee, of course, I've damaged my knee coaching a kids class again. Anyhow, it's just constant rapid fire excuses. Where was I going with any of this? What was the point of any of this? Oh, yeah, I have a lot. I have quite a bit of experience going up against like dudes bigger than me when it comes to grappling, but when it comes to striking, I don't want to get punched in the head by like a 200-pound dude. That doesn't sound fun. That sounds like it would kind of diminish the rest of my game entirely. I mean, of course I'm blocking, but at the same time, like, something's gonna sneak through. You know, it's not gonna be good. So yeah, I think my fighting class would be featherweight, 145. I could do that. Conor McGregor fought at 145. Speaking of Conor McGregor, that guy's never coming back. Okay, so for anybody out there who's like a UFC fan, casual fans, maybe primarily speaking to you, don't anticipate Conor McGregor resurfacing in MMA. Like, he's too wealthy, he's too well off. He doesn't have that I need to eat hunger. I need to make a solid paycheck drive. It just does not exist in him anymore. He was been set to fight, or I don't know, set to fight Michael Chandler for like 2 years at this point. Ever since they did their Ultimate Fighter series, it's just not gonna happen, and that really bummed me out because I'm a Michael Chandler fan. Michael Chandler is, one of the figureheads over at Nashville MMA, and you can't live in Nashville and not be involved in the MMA world and not be a Michael Chandler fan. Like, he's our boy. He fights out of Nashville. So it was kind of a bummer just watching him sit around waiting for McGregor to be ready, because Chandler's always ready. Like, he's never out of shape. He's never not ready to go. Like, he's always primed to, I mean, even like he could even take short notice fights and be formidable. You know what I mean? But fighting McGregor would be a phenomenal payday for everyone involved, for everybody on the card, really. Like, the pay-per-views would be through the roof, attendance would be through the roof, no matter where it is. And I get it. I get why you want to hold on to that, like, chasing that white whale as long as you can. But then there comes to a point where you're like, I'm getting older. Ring rust is a legit thing, even though Chandler is always primed and ready. Like, if you're not actively fighting, there's definitely like a ring rust. You know what I mean? There's a variable that you're dealing with that might not be like super prominent in your capability, but it definitely exists. It's definitely there. It's definitely, if not an obvious obstacle, it's an undeniable obstacle that you got to overcome. So it's good to see he just announced, like, today or yesterday, that he'll be fighting Charles Oliveira at, I think, UFC 309 at Madison Square Garden. So that's going to be an exciting one. That's a rematch too, and it's a hard one. It's a tough rematch because last time they squared off, Oliveira, I think it was a knockout finish, I believe, if memory serves. Chandler wasn't like out, but let's see. All right, Chandler Oliveira. There's an R in that. One. How'd that one end? Let's see. Spoilers. Yeah. At 262. And it was... Wait, what is this? Yeah, Oliveira Chandler. TKO, punches. So it was a technical knockout in round 2. Whew. round 2. Not optimal when it comes to a rematch when you got TKO'd in round 2, but Oliveira's kind of been on he's coming off a loss. Yeah, he's coming off a loss. I don't know if it's back-to-back losses, but he's definitely coming off at least a loss in his last fight. So maybe Oliveira is more vulnerable now, because usually, like, once a champion loses their belts, they sort of, I don't want to say skid, but they oftentimes need to rediscover their footing. So we'll see. I'd love it if Chandler won, but I think Oliveira is a much harder fight than Conor. I think Chandler could have really showed up in a fight against Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, like I said, there's the fight, the spirit. The spirit has there's nothing to feed the spirit anymore. Like, he's super wealthy. He just doesn't need to do it anymore. And he also is like a co-owner of Bare Knuckle, the Bare Knuckle organization, BKFC. So that kind of seems to be where his promotional mindset is. And I get it. I mean, if you're a co-owner in that, you're definitely going to want to, like, put all your promotional time and energy into promoting that organization, and maybe not so much the UFC anymore. So it's not like they compete or anything like that. They're not competing MMA organizations, but at the same time, you know, quite a few UFC folks have stepped into the bare knuckle world, and man, bare knuckle is just gnarly. I love it. I'd like to see bare knuckle MMA, to be honest with you. I don't see why that's hasn't started to become more of a prevalent thing. I think Jorge Masvidal, I think he has his Game Bred fight promotion, and I think they do bare knuckle. Let's see. I'm Googling a lot tonight. Game Bred FC. Yep. Game Bred bare knuckle MMA. It is bare knuckle MMA. But it's not, you know, that's one of those you kind of gotta make an effort to keep up with, because it's not, you know, so much in the foreground of the sport. So it's a little, you know, you really got to want it to keep up with it. BKFC used to be that way too, but now bare knuckle, I feel like, has really found its place, and it's not, you know, it's definitely one that is easier to come across. You know what I mean? You don't have to look for it so hard. But dude, it's wild watching bare knuckle boxing. And then if you throw MMA into there, I wonder how. I mean, I could just watch more Game Bred FC. I probably should, but like I said, I don't know, man. I just don't really take the time to go keep up with it all. What was it? Man, I have just flown off into, like, just so many just offshoots of this MMA talking timeline. But where it all stemmed from is, tomorrow night is 306. And again, it doesn't make sense to talk about it now because this episode comes out after the fact, but I will say I'm a big Sean O'Malley fan. I'm rooting for Sean O'Malley. I've kept up with his career since Dana White Contender Series. So, like, it's fun when you when you kind of latch onto a fighter in their like way early years, and you're able to follow them, in Sean O'Malley's case, follow them up into being a division champion. So it's cool. Like his evolution has been wild, like just appearance wise. He's hip with the kids, so he's got that star power. One of our boys, our 14-year-old, he's a pretty casual fan when it comes to MMA and UFC and stuff. He's more of like a football guy, but he does. I mean, he lives in an MMA household, so like it's in the air in the house, and so he does hold like even a cat, like he holds a casual interest in it. But Sean O'Malley is one of the fighters he knows. Paddy Pimblett, like all these like new Sean O'Malley's not new or up and coming. He's established and a superstar at this point. But he definitely caters to the younger demographic, which is cool for the sport. Bring in all these, inspiring the new blood. You know what I mean? Like, I am one of those dads that like strongly encourages my kids to like, lean into things that I'm interested in. Like, I'm not into football. I'm just not. I don't know. I don't find it to be super interesting, honestly. Like, it just too much downtime. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Every play we reset, and no, dude. I want to see constant action and violence. You know what I mean? Football's a pretty violent sport, but it's not like violent. You know what I mean? It's just big behemoths crashing into each other. Which, I definitely see the allure in that. And I'll watch the Super Bowl and stuff like that, but I don't have a team that I root for. I don't have any favorite players or anything like that. And I'm not... Team sports are just not really, fast. Like, they don't hold my interest. Baseball, basketball, hockey, none of those. Soccer, when it's like World Cup time, I'll get into, but that's just more of like national pride. Portugal. And he currently plays, he's a freshman in high school, and he plays freshman football. And to my understanding, they are not doing well. And like, when I say not doing well, I mean not doing well at all. And it's not it's not because the kids aren't talented or anything like that. It's just, I think the coaching is just very, So he doesn't really sub in players, and like, I don't know. I don't find I don't think it's fun to be, because he doesn't get to play much, because again, the coaches, I guess, don't sub people in. And so he's essentially suiting up for games, wearing all the pads and all that stuff to watch from the sidelines and watch his team get annihilated. And that just doesn't sound enjoyable to me. You know what I mean? Like, I like solo sports, solo competition. If it's two dudes in a cage fighting, there's subbing is not a thing. It's definitely a personal ownership of performance, and like every gym is a team. Every like boxing gym, MMA gym, Jiu-Jitsu school, like all of it, that's your team. But when you're competing, it's you in there. I mean, you have your corner, which I guess could be, but that's more coaches and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like fighting, combat sports, there's more heart and there's more ownership to it, and that just appeals to me more. 'Cause you can't walk away going like, we lost because of so and so or that person or these people or whatever. You walk away if you lose. You got to own it on yourself. You carry it, and the same goes when you win. When you win, it wasn't because anybody else. It was because of what you did personally. So, and then you always give credit to your training coaches and partners and stuff like that. So, but anyhow, that tangent came from he's 14, and the fighters he knows are the ones that are hip with the kids, and Sean O'Malley is one of them. But I like Sean O'Malley just from following his career. I hope he wins, and I don't know. By the time this comes out, we'll know. We'll know if he's and still or if there's and new. And Merab, how do you say his last name? Delujvili, Deluvili. I don't know. I don't say his last name. Just Merab. He's cool too. I like him. I like him as well. I don't have like as much of a invested connection in him, but I've always rooted for him in his fights leading up to this title fight against O'Malley. So, it'll be cool if he wins as well. I'll be less excited, but it'll definitely, he's a solid talent. Like, he's a well-deserving fighter of the opportunity, and if he wins, he'll be a well-deserved champion as well. So we'll see. We shall see. And Merab's been down to our gym too. He's come into Nashville MMA with Aljamain Sterling when Aljo was still a champ. So there's a little bit of like a hey cool connection there too. Like, hey, he's been to our gym. So I won't be bummed out if Merab wins. Like, I'll be bummed out to a degree of like, oh, the guy I like a little bit more didn't win. You know what I mean? And then the co-main event is Alexa Grasso, the current champ, fighting former champ. Oh my God. Do you hear that? That's creepy. My kid's tablet just turned on telling me it couldn't connect to the internet. I'm not trying to connect you to the internet. And if there was a ghost trying to use it, then, I mean, if you're the ghosts that live here in general, you should know the Wi-Fi passwords. They've been the same since like 2016. That was weird. Like, why did it do that? That's spooky. Do you think ghosts can inhabit, or I don't know what the word would be, possess electronics? Because that's kind of a theory, right? They got to pull energy from energy that's around, and sometimes that's like how they make lights flicker and things like that. It's why it gets cold in the room when ghosts are present, because I guess they're pulling the energy from the room, cooling it off so they can manifest themselves. I don't feel like it got colder in here, but that was spooky. Yeah. What was I saying? Alexa Grasso is fighting Valentina Shevchenko. Don't really have a dog in that fight. Don't really care who wins. It's a fun fight. It's a cool fight. This is the third time they're fighting, I believe. I guess Alexa Grasso would be more apt to root for, since it is UFC Noche in honor of Mexican Independence Day, which is September 16th. And I always have this qualm with people celebrating Cinco de Mayo and saying that it's Mexican Independence Day, because it's not. It's not. September 16th is Mexican Independence Day. Let's see. Let's just double check. Mexican Mexican Independence Day. Yeah, September 16th. I don't know why do people confuse that with Cinco de Mayo? Excuse me. Let's see. I just clicked on something. Is Cinco de Mayo Mexican Independence Day, and it's just a picture. There's nothing. There we go. Cinco de Mayo is sometimes mistaken for Mexican Independence Day, the most important national holiday in Mexico, which is celebrated on September 16th, commemorating the city of Dolores in 1810. Which initiated the Mexican War of Independence from Spain. Cinco de Mayo has been referenced and featured in entertainment and media, and has become an increasingly global celebration of Mexican culture, cuisine, and heritage. So it sounds like Cinco de Mayo. Oh, wait, here we go. Cinco de Mayo in Mexico, Spanish for 5th of May, is an annual celebration held on May 5th to celebrate Mexico's victory over the Second French Empire at the Battle of Puebla in 1862. Okay, so Mexico was already independent by then, but it's a celebration of their victory over the Second French Empire, which, cool, but definitely less exciting, you know? So, anyhow. Yeah, I got to get off the topic of 306 because, like I said, this comes out after that, so there's really, anything I have to say would be irrelevant in the timeline. It is spooky season, though, and the veil between realms, the living and the dead, is thinning. So maybe that's why the tablet came to life and said it was having trouble connecting to the internet, which also confuses me because that tablet's always connected to the Wi-Fi. So what are they trying to do? I don't understand. Is it an old ghost? Is it a ghost from like the 1800s? Is it a Civil War ghost? We do live close to like a Confederate memorial cemetery. So I presume during the Civil War there was we live close to the Hermitage, Andrew Jackson's home. So I presume there must have been some sort of something going on around here. But then again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a ghost from a battle or anything like that. The era, though, the 1800s, this was definitely a populated area-ish in the 1800s, so maybe. My house is really old. But again, we have local ghosts, Dana and Richie, and they should know the Wi-Fi password because it's been the Wi-Fi password forever here. I've told that story so many times that I feel like, would it be just redundant to repeat it again? It's a fun story, though. I know for a fact, I know from secondhand account, which is almost a fact, that there are two ghosts here, and it's a boy and a girl, younger. The horror punk band Blitzkid, they've crashed at my house, once when they came through Nashville. Actually, they've been to my house a couple times. But on this occasion, they had played a show, and I was just like, you guys can crash on my place so you don't have to, get a hotel or anything. I'm like, awesome. So they did. They stayed here in what is now my bedroom, mine and my wife. The the drummer, guitar player, and like their tour manager all slept in that room. And at some point in the night, their tour manager, I guess, woke up to a dog in the house. And this is before I had a dog. And he said that this dog, he was like, man, I didn't remember Justin ever having a dog. Like when we went to bed, he didn't mention anything about it. So I guess he woke up, saw this dog, and the dog started walking around the bed he was sleeping in. And behind the dog appeared a boy. He didn't give me an age range, but he just said a boy. So I'm figuring like younger, like teen to, I don't know, youth. Not a toddler or a baby. This boy appeared on his hands and knees crawling behind the dog, like I guess like chasing the dog playfully, like not going quickly, but just kind of like crawling after the dog. And that freaked him out. So he threw the blanket over his head, like you would imagine, on TV or something. And then when he pulled the cover off his face, he saw a little girl standing beside the bed, apparently holding snakes. And that's chilling as I tell it. Now, is it chilling because it's just a spooky story? Or is it chilling because I'm giving them attention or I'm acknowledging them? So the chill down my spine that I currently feel, is that inspired or influenced by them directly? I don't know. But anyhow, he told me that story the next morning when they crashed here. And I was like, oh, that's super creepy. And, there's always like anyone who's been here or stayed here has heard, has felt, has like, like the footsteps, like everybody will be downstairs and then you'll hear upstairs like somebody running across a room or something. It's like, well, there's nobody up there. That's weird. Things like that. And in my laundry room on the brick, like my laundry room is located outside my kitchen. It's still enclosed, but it's like an enclosed area that's in between my house and the mother-in-law suite over my garage. And at one point, I'm assuming was outside, but at some point, whoever lived here walled it in, so it's like another enclosed space. But the walls are brick, like the outside of the house is, and on two separate bricks, there's the names Dana and Richie, and it looks like the names have been written by younger people, because in the D of Dana, there's a little smiley face. And just the handwriting in general looks more childlike than it would like an adult's. And the year next to the names is like 1980 or something like that. So these aren't old ghosts. Like, 1800s ghosts. It's 1980s ghosts. And I was just like, huh, that's weird. And I never really like put those two things together until I was renting the mother-in-law suite to some friends of mine, and we had the vents cleaned out, and like underneath the mother-in-law suite is the garage, and like had the garage cleared out by like a junk company or whatever. And when they were clearing out the garage, the people who were doing it came up and they asked my friends. They were just like, hey, we found this photo down there. We didn't want to like just chuck it out in case it was like sentimental to anybody. And they were just like, oh, weird. And they said that the photo was of like a little boy and a little girl from that time period, like the 1980s. Like you could tell on the photo, it says, they always put the date, like when we still used film cameras, when you got them developed, a lot of times they would have like the date in that like orangey font. So that was spooky too. There was no reason to believe that it was Richie and Dana beyond the fact that it was a boy and the girl from, seeming like the photo was from the 80s. It was a little boy and a little girl. And then the names, Dana and Richie, 1980, written on the wall, boy and a girl. And so you know where I'm getting at. So I just came to the conclusion that those are the ghosts that live here. Very nice. They don't bother anybody. They don't manifest themselves and appear and spook anybody. So that's very nice. But I would imagine that they would know how to use a Kindle. They didn't have Kindles in the 80s, but they've been here long enough. Do you think ghosts, like, if they're haunting a house, as technology progresses, they inspect things like a PlayStation? They didn't have PlayStations in the 80s, but I mean, if they're around, I'm sure they're around if they're aware of their surroundings and they're looking at these things like, man. Or are ghosts not that cognizant of being ghosts? You know what I mean? Is that a thing? Do you think ghosts know they're ghosts? There is that theory that ghosts are like the reflection of a tragic memory or something burned into time. So you may see a ghost, but at the same time, does that ghost see you? Right? Are you just witnessing a memory when people see ghosts? But then then you talk to people, like you hear stories and stuff about malevolent ghosts, and they're just like, they torment people. They physically throw things or scratch on the walls or scratch people sometimes. And yeah, I don't know. I think I believe in ghosts, though. I do believe in ghosts. I just don't understand them. But that's part of it, right? It's the mystery. Is it like what is scary about ghosts? Is it the fact that they're dead? And like, let's say for argument's sake, you see a ghost and it just looks like a normal person. You know what I mean? Are they meant to be translucent? Because that's a stereotypical image you get oftentimes of ghosts, that they're like translucent. They have a very haunting demeanor about them. They often seem pained in some way from however they presumably tragically lost their lives. But what if they're just like completely normal looking? Because I've heard accounts of that too. Like somebody will be speaking to someone, and then they find out like those creepy stories of driving down a road and seeing a hitchhiker and picking them up, and it's like a teenage girl or something like that. And the driver will pick him up because like, yeah, I just saw this teenage girl hitchhiking, on a dark road, and it didn't seem safe. So I wanted to make sure she got to where she was going safely. And like, they'll pick up the hitchhiker, take them where they need to go, and then later they'll like check in on them or something like that. And then the person at the house that they dropped off the hitchhiker at will be like, yeah, that sounds like my daughter, but she's been dead for 20 years or something like that, right? And if ghosts are, mournful and translucent, wouldn't the person driving notice, like, hey, you are kind of see-through? That doesn't seem normal. So I can only imagine in that case, the ghost in question is just as like tangible looking as the living. So what's right? Is it a mix? Are there different levels of ghost? Like, depending on what kind of ghost you are, like you may be translucent or you might not be. But yeah, what makes ghost creepy? Is it the fact that you know that it's a dead person? But that's if you know. Like if you saw a person that was as tangible as you are, and this is like a person that you don't know anything about, and you strike up a conversation with them, and in the conversation you come to the conclusion, like they mention it or something, that they are, you know, a spirit or a ghost or something. Does it become scary then, or like they're totally normal looking? You know what I mean? Like it's not somebody who had like their throat cut and they're sitting in front of you with the wound. That would be creepy. That would be creepy. Talking to somebody who had a clearly fatal wound, just sitting there like acting casually. That'd be scary. But you would be put off by anybody that has a terrifying wound, ghost or not. You know what I mean? Like if you see somebody like with bullet wounds and blood on their shirt just sitting there, like you're gonna be tweaked out a little bit about that. You're gonna be like sketched, like, hey, what's your story? What's going on? Yeah. It's weird. It's weird. Do you ever like drive down the street or walk outside at night and like the street lights will spontaneously, like just one will go out and go dark? I always wonder if that's related to some sort of like spirit manifestation. It happens kind of frequently, honestly. Like I'll be driving and then just one street light will randomly go off, or there's a street light across the street from my house that will like go off randomly if I'm taking out the trash or something. And then I scare myself and go, and I run back to my house. But why? You know what I mean? But why? What's making it so scary? What if you saw a sheet ghost? Would that be scary? Just like somebody walks down your stairs in a sheet with like the holes cut out. Like where did that come from? That whole idea of a ghost. Let's see. Can we look that up? The origin of the sheet ghost. Let's see. The real starting point when the sheet ghost became the norm is at the beginning of the 19th century. Potentially thanks to a historic murder case, a ghost, in quotes, dressed in a white shroud was an assailant in the London village of Hammersmith. So there was a historic murder case where somebody draped in a sheet was the attacker. That doesn't sound like ghosts. That just sounds like KKK-ish. But the KKK wouldn't be in a London village at the beginning of the 19th century, I don't think. I don't know much of their history. Where did the bedsheet ghost come from? The bedsheet ghost costume can be tracked back to the early ghost costume traditions in Europe and America. In many cultures, ghosts and spirits were believed to be able to return to the world of the living on certain occasions, such as All Saints' Day or the winter solstice. But why are they wearing a sheet? What are ghost sheets? The ghost bed sheets or ghost sheets are a luxury set of... Okay, that's not at all what I'm looking for. Well, Why ghosts wear white sheets? Okay, let's try this one. Why ghosts wear white sheets and other spectral silliness? Spectral silliness has to be the title of this episode. Let's see. This specific image of a ghost as this specific image of ghosts as white sheets has been ingrained in our culture for centuries, and until fairly recently, it was considered genuinely terrifying. The root of it lies in the fact that up until the 19th century, the dead were almost always wrapped in burial shrouds, rather than placed in coffins. In poorer families, the recently deceased were simply wrapped up in the sheet from their deathbed and secured inside by a knot tied at either end. Okay. In the 1300s, ghosts were often presented as skeletons draped in their shrouds. That's more scary. As this depiction from the... Oh, I can't read that. The Passalter of Robert de Leal created sometime between 1308 and 1340 demonstrates. I'm a terrible reader out loud, by the way, dyslexic. In the story of the three living and the three dead, three spirits slash corpses, warn three noblemen to live virtuous lives or be damned. The maggots are a nice touch, don't you think? There are maggots in this painting? Oh, yeah, in his tummy. That's creepy. Okay, that makes more sense, the whole burial shroud thing. I get that. But it became so cartoony because, well, no, they said, all right, so somebody would pass away, and then they would roll them in the sheets and tie off each end. Got it. But also, I guess you could drape it over the head like a conventional-looking sheet ghost and then tie it off at the bottom. That's more scary. So is it theoretically under the sheet is a skeleton then? All right. I'm following it. So under every sheet, there's a skeleton. Under every ghost sheet, there lies a skeleton. That's fun. We got a little ghost guy character for Leal Legacy. His name is Specter instead of Hector. Specter. Specter spooks. He's a cholo ghost. Not really a cholo ghost, but Mexican SoCal like skater ghost. Very suicidal tendencies-esque. Yeah, growing up, ghosts terrified me, like really bad. I always like that was the thing that scared me the most, honestly. Never like vampires or werewolves or anything like that. Those all felt very fantasy to me. But the idea of a ghost was always terrifying. And what terrified me, I guess, would be like a translucent person in a very inconsolable, mournful state. That would be very uncomfortable. Because, like Casper, the friendly ghost. If you saw Casper walking around, there'd be nothing terrifying about that. But he's also the friendly ghost. But that style of ghost, too, I don't find terrifying. So if I just saw like a happy-go-lucky translucent person, I guess that wouldn't be as scary. There is that terrifying thought or that terrifying reality of like someone you don't recognize being in your home, ghost or not. That's always an unsettling situation. But to know that they're dead does add quite a bit more heebie-jeebies to the situation. It's the mournful demeanor, I think, really makes it uncomfortable. Because, like, just when, like, even the living, when somebody's upset, you know, there is an uncomfortable nature or energy in the room with, you know, it makes sense. That tracks. But I guess, like, the combination of that person's dead, they're see-through, and they're just inconsolably distraught. Adds an element of, like, uncomfortability. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I don't want to find out, though, either. You know what I mean? I don't want to experience this for myself. I don't want to, like, turn a corner in my house and some transparent person is standing there. I don't want to know what my reaction would be. If it was like The Sixth Sense, though, like that movie, those ghosts weren't translucent, but all those ghosts were, like, creepy because they reflected the way they died. Like that scene where he's in his tent trying to hide from a ghost, and then, like, he turns his flashlight on and it's like a little girl, like, vomiting in front of him. That's spooky. And then the way, like, most of those ghosts were done up too, like, yeah, very terrifying. The scene from that movie that really freaks me out every single time to this day is, like, when he went to the kitchen and then there was that woman in, like, a bathrobe going through the cabinets and, like, turning around, like, screaming at him, and her, like, wrists were cut or something, and she was just, like, that would absolutely scare me to death. But then, spoiler, you remember that Bruce Willis is a ghost in that movie, and, like, he hung out with Bruce Willis the entire time, not knowing he was a ghost. There was nothing terrifying about Bruce Willis in that movie. So does the scare factor just, like, is it different from ghost to ghost? Yeah, I guess by that logic, what makes it scary is the visual recognition that they're dead. Like, their neck is cracked or something like that, you know what I mean? Is the unnatural state of how they look, because how they look is like, you shouldn't be alive, and so there's something scary about that. Yeah. I don't know. I think I freaked myself out, though. I think when I'm done recording and I'm trying to, you know, wrap up the house and go to bed, I'm going to be pretty creeped out. I'm going to have to listen to, like, a lighthearted podcast to get through my nightly chores before I go to bed. It's spooky season, though. So this just it's reasonable to go through this. But then you got things like Coco. And I don't just mean Coco. I mean, like, you know, Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. Like that, the whole idea of the holiday is that that's the day that the dead can come back to the land of the living and visit with their family and friends and stuff like that. I mean, I don't recall hearing anything that, like, you should be able to see these people, but it's the understanding that, like, you're surrounded by your deceased loved ones on that day, and there's nothing terrifying about that. You know, the idea that, like, you know, we put up an ofrenda in the house with pictures of, like, my grandparents and my mom and stuff like that, and the idea is that they come and visit and they're present here with you. That's, like, a very heartwarming sensation. You know what I mean? Like, the spirit of your loved ones who have passed on are in the same room with you doesn't feel like a scary thing. Because I guess you're meeting in celebration. You're meeting for lighthearted reasons. No one's going to come back in a terrifying manner on Dia de los Muertos, which is also All Saints Day. So when we referenced that earlier, when we looked up stuff about the sheet ghost, All Saints Day is the same thing. So that's, and, the imagery for for those who have passed is all skeletal. So that makes sense. That ties into what's under the sheet. It's a skeleton. In Dia de los Muertos, the imagery, they depict the dead who come back and are part of the celebration. They're all skeletons. And in Coco, I love that movie. I love the movie Coco. Coco was hands down my favorite Pixar movie. Yeah, the dead are all, they're all skeletons, which I think's cool. I don't think I would be freaked out by just like a skeleton walking around. You know what I mean? Like, take the sheet off and it's just like a skeleton, just bones hanging out. I think that'd be pretty rad. Unless it started screaming or something like that. Unless it started doing some sort of like behavior that was just really uncomfortable, like just weeping or screaming or laughing even uncontrollably, like that would be pretty terrifying. But I mean, if anybody was doing that, living or dead, if there was a living person just sitting across from you screaming a mournful wail, like that wouldn't be comfortable at all. I would be pretty scared in that moment too. So I guess here poses the thought. Historically, as we just went over, and with this, connection to Day of the Dead, there aren't ghosts. There's skeletons. And I find that less terrifying. I prefer to not believe in ghosts and just think that skeletons are walking around. So when you hear footsteps, upstairs late at night, and no one's up there, just know that there's a skeleton just kind of walking to the bathroom. The one place skeletons would never need to go, the bathroom. In Coco, here's a really sad thought that hit me, because we watch Coco fairly regularly in our house. Our two youngest boys like that movie a lot, or I think they like that movie a lot, because I'll just put it on for them, which kind of I'm just putting it on for me as well. There's a scene in there when they're crossing after Miguel flips into the land of the dead, and they're walking over the pedal bridge to the land of the dead to figure out what do we do with this living boy? What's going on? How do we fix this? There's a lady and a little girl walking across the bridge, and it's just supposed to depict, a mom and daughter, I guess, walking together. But when you realize that he's walking into the land of the dead, that little girl, skeleton, is a little girl that had passed away. And that just makes it so much more sad. But it's not presented to you in a sad way. But when you piece it together, you're like, oh, everyone on this side's dead. And they're not all adults. That's a bummer. So I hope I didn't actually ruin Coco for people out there. But yeah, it was just a weird thing that came to my mind watching it the last time we had it on. And then Sugar Skull, the decor, the way that skeletons are done up for Day of the Dead makes them so much cooler too. Easier to look at, I guess. Yeah. Anyhow. How long have I been doing this? How long have we been going? I feel like it's been a fair amount of time. 1 hour and 9 minutes. That's not bad. What do we talk about? Talked about some UFC stuff. Talked about Cinco de Mayo into Ghosts into Day of the Dead. Look at that. Look how that all just kind of like worked out to kind of make sense. You know what I mean? It made more sense than a lot of the other episodes do, right? I don't think it was super funny. It's kind of glum, maybe. But do you come here for the laughs, or do you come here just for my stream of consciousness and just like, you know, just whatever comes out of my mouth? It is spooky season. I'm excited for it. I love Halloween. I like all the Dia de los Muertos imagery. So, just a fun time of year. And it'll remain this time of year the next few episodes too. Maybe I should like look into things to like dive into. You know what I mean? I like Googling things and sharing information. I should do more of that. Speaking of Halloween, we have... Oh, that's what I want to say. That's what I want to do, too. So every episode now, I've decided, every episode of the podcast, I think I want to release a song with the episode. I love using AI to make things, and I make a lot of songs now using AI, and I just think they're just great. You know what I mean? And I've been making them and putting them on our Leal Legacy Music YouTube channel, but it's just kind of like, you know, there needs to be more to it than just throwing up random songs to a new YouTube channel. So I figure if I introduce the songs here on this podcast, you can go listen to them whenever you want over on that YouTube. Like, we'll have a whole playlist and everything. So it'll kind of give more, it'll make the creation of the songs more, you know, give more reason to it, I guess, than beyond me just having fun. This episode, the song is tied into our Halloween drop for Legacy Club clothing. And I do a Tricky Treats drop every Halloween with, you know, their Halloween inspired designs. This year, I did a theme it's a tribute to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. My favorite Halloween, mainly because it's not Michael Myers. It's not a slasher Halloween. Like, it's definitely, the plot of the movie is very, like, not goofy horror, but very over the top horror. You know what I mean? Watch it. I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to spoil, but it's definitely not the Halloween. It's not Michael Myers Halloween. That's for sure. It's the most Halloween feeling of the Halloween series. But yeah, so the song is a tribute to the movie. The song is called Tricky Treats because the treats for Halloween in that movie were tricky. They were playing a trick on the children themselves. And then coinciding with that is the designs that we did. The designs are focused on the 3 masks from Halloween 3, the skull, the jack-o'-lantern, and the witch. I did my own versions of those across, you know, all my favorite types of apparel, baseball tees, hoodies, shirts, just what have you. You can find all that available now at Legacy Club CLO, CLO. The CLO stands for clothing.com. LegacyClubClo.com. It's right there on the main page under new arrivals, or you can also hit our seasonal tab, and all of them will be in there. And to go with that too, to make it a little more fun, we have some social media exclusives. So not everything is available on our website. There are some things available on our social media pages, X, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. All of those at Leal Legacy. So you can find our Tricky Treats social media exclusives there, and then the exclusives that we have on the website. Go scope out both. Pick yourself up something fun. The designs are fun. And while you're looking at the designs, listen to our song Tricky Treats over at the Legacy or Leal Legacy Music YouTube. I did a cool music video for it too, which was a lot of fun to do. And yeah, I'll throw that song in right now. I think next time I'll put the song in like the middle of the episode. That might be better, like a little intermission. I'm still getting my footing back into the regular podcasting. I think I'm doing pretty good. I think I'm getting it back. I'm exercising the muscle more. So with all that being said, scope out our store, legacyclubclo.com. Find us on social media at Leal Legacy across all your favorite social media platforms, and then just our basic site, leallegacy.com. You can find everything else we do, these podcasts, old podcasts, commentaries, blog posts for more insight into like the songs, the designs that we do for Legacy Club clothing, and all those things. All that, we're building a whole legacy verse here, and it's exciting. I'm having fun doing it. Well, there's something else I wanted to throw in there too. Yeah, check out the other YouTube pages we have. We have multiple pages now for all the commentaries, the cartoon commentaries, things of that nature. The Legacy Club YouTube. That's where you're watching this podcast right now if you're watching the video. And then you can scope out our POV vlog channel, which is just point of view, no talking, no commentary, just, I shoot things and share the world through how I see it. And then we have a family, and that's Legacy View YouTube. Also, you can find that at leallegacy.com. And then we have our family vlog channel coming up with some content. And that is Legacy of Leal YouTube. You can also find a link to that on leallegacy.com. And then lastly, our gaming channel. We have a gaming YouTube channel, Leal Legacy Gaming, where my son Bane streams video games relentlessly, constantly. You can hear him stream of consciousness talk like he's prepping for podcasting. He's already better at it than I am. So you can watch him game and listen to him just say whatever at Leal Legacy Gaming YouTube. Our Rumble channel, we have a Rumble channel where you can find the commentaries that we aren't able to post on YouTube. Our commentaries to like the Disney animated features. I put up a commentary to the first Three Stooges episode. You can find the Three Stooges commentaries on Rumble. And yeah, I think that's the gist of it all. All right, well, yeah. Cool. Hope you enjoy the song. I'm going to put the music video I did for the song on the video version of this podcast, and then the audio version, you'll just have the music itself. But if you've seen Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, I think you'll be pretty impressed. And if you haven't seen it, maybe with what you're about to experience may inspire you to go watch it, which I highly recommend. It's a good one. It's one of those ones where it's just like, it's bad good, you know what I mean? But it's not terribly done. It's just like, what? When you go through two movies of Michael Myers being like the boogeyman of Halloween, and then the third movie it just has nothing to do with him, you're like, wait a minute. what? So I think that's why it doesn't get the love that I think it deserves. But this was me showing my love for that movie, the love that it does deserve. So enjoy our Tricky Treats 2024. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Thanks for being a friend and telling a friend. See ya.
Happy Halloween.